The city of Salem, Essex County, Massachusetts, is a historical coastal town found on the northern shore of Massachusetts. Salem City is home to the Salem State University, the House of the Seven Gables, as well as the headquarters of the Satanic Temple. Most of the cultural identity of the city stems from the infamous Salem witch trials of 1692, which were detailed in The Crucible by Arthur Miller. The city has become something of a witch centre, with witch logos adorning police cars, Witchcraft Heights Public Elementary School, the Witches Athletic Team of the Salem High School, and Gallows Hill, which was originally believed to be the location of public hangings in the city, which is now used as a playing field for a number of sports. Given the history that Salem has, it's hardly surprised that the city is packed full of haunted folklore and other creepy stories. Witchcraft hysteria ran rampant through Salem in 1692, leading to deaths of 20 innocent people during the Salem witch trials. The problems of Salem didn't actually end with the Salem witch trials though. Pirates, smugglers, sailors and bootleggers alike have made Salem into their home. Their ghostly remains are also said to haunt everything in the city, from an embalming studio, speakeasy, to the underground tunnels crisscrossing the coastline. Here are 7 Salem ghost stories. Number 7. The Ghost of Giles Corey. Farmer Giles Corey supported the Salem witch trials. He would even testify against his own wife, Martha Corey. His thoughts on the witch trials changed when he was the one accused of being a warlock, a male witch himself. Giles would refuse to enter a plea during the trial, leading Sheriff Corwin to torture the man to get a confession out of him. Corey was publicly executed via pressing, and the extreme and violent nature of the punishment urged many people to question the validity of the witch trials in general. It is said that Corey would scream, "Damn you, I curse you and Salem," during the torture. Sheriff Corwin died of a sudden heart attack 4 years later at the young age of 30. It is now believed that Corey's ghost haunts the Howard Street Cemetery, where he is said to bring ill omens. Witnesses reported seeing his ghost just before the tragic Great Salem Fire in 1914. Number 6. Joshua Ward's house. Joshua Ward was a retired sea captain who had a brick mansion built during the mid-1780s. The land was owned in the 1680s by the new Tory Sheriff Corwin, who is perhaps better known by the nickname the Strangler. A total of 19 men and women were executed under the watch of Sheriff Corwin during the Salem witch trials. Corwin himself was infamous by the way he would interrogate suspects through torture. When Corwin died of a sudden heart attack in 1697, his family interred him in the cellar as it was too cold to bury him, and they were worried the residents of the city would try to dismember his corpse as an act of revenge for what he did in life. Corwin's body would remain in the house for a number of years before it was finally moved to the Broad Street Cemetery. Several ghosts reportedly haunt the land that Joshua Ward's house is built on, including the ghost of Corwin himself and Giles Corey, one of Corwin's many victims. Witnesses also report seeing the ghost of a woman with black hair, who is believed to be yet another victim of the witch trials. Number 5. The House of the Seven Gables. The famous House of the Seven Gables was constructed by Sea Captain John Turner in 1668. 3 generations of his family lived within the home before it was later sold. The new owner of the home, Captain Samuel Ingersoll, would leave the house to his daughter Susanna in his will. Susanna was a cousin of Nathaniel Hawthorne. The trips that Hawthorne made to the house are said to be the inspiration for the story The House of the Seven Gables. These days, witnesses report seeing Susanna's ghost walking through the halls and looking out through the windows. There are also reports of strange sounds and the ghost of a friendly child living in the attic. The house has been converted to a museum now, so if you're feeling brave, you can take a trip and hunt for ghosts yourself. Number 4. The Jonathan Corwin House. The Jonathan Corwin House, also known as the Witch House, was the home of Judge Jonathan Corwin. Corwin presided over the Salem witch trials and was responsible for sending 19 innocent people to their deaths. The Witch House is the only building in Salem still standing to this day that is directly connected to the witch trials, and it has been opened up to the public as a museum. This paranormal hotspot has been featured on Ghost Adventures, with the crew feeling cold breezes and people touching their arms, as well as hearing the sound of children. Number 3. Local liquor store. If you've ever passed through the city or the wider Peabody, Massachusetts area, then you've likely spotted Bunghole Liquors and had a laugh at the name. The funny name of the store actually comes from the Prohibition history of the store. Back then, Bunghole Liquors was a funeral home, with the owner running a speakeasy in the basement. Would you want to drink in a place dead bodies were embalmed? People were desperate back then. The slang term for a secret watering hole was bunghole, with people saying things like, "Will you be at the bunghole tonight?" A regular at the place suggested that the owner should convert the funeral home into a liquor store if prohibition was lifted, which is what happened in 1933. It is said that spirits of a different kind haunt the liquor store to this day. A female ghost is said to roam behind the wine racks. Number 2. The Derby Waterfront. During the late 17th century, the strip of taverns along Derby Street, across from Derby Wharf, was a hotbed of illegal activity. Sea captains and sailors visiting the city would use the underground tunnels to get into the red light district and the brothels there. There are also rumours that they would kidnap people and transport them through the tunnels. The stretch of Derby Street is now home to a number of cafes and taverns, including the aptly named The Witch's Brew. It is said that the spirits of the old sailors still linger, with disembodied voices heard floating on the air and pirates emerging from the water. Number 1. Other haunted hotspots in Salem. The Hawthorne Hotel of Salem was built in 1925. The name of the hotel comes from author Nathaniel Hawthorne, who lived in Salem and wrote The House of the Seven Gables and The Scarlet Letter. These days, the hotel remains a popular event venue, but the guests at these events often report encounters with some ghosts too. People have reported hearing a crying baby, seeing water taps turn themselves off and on, and feeling unseen hands touch them in room 325. In room 612, meanwhile, visitors are treated to the ghost of a woman staring at them. In 1692, the land that Turner's Seafood is now built on was owned by Bridget Bishop, the first woman accused as part of the witch trials. According to Salem local legend, the restaurant is haunted by a woman wearing a long white dress from the 17th century. Some visitors report seeing her in mirrors and believe that she has messed with the electrical equipment in the restaurant. Salem State University was established in 1854 and was originally known as the Salem National School. The university reportedly has some ghosts of its own. 2 girls were electrocuted in the Gramley Library. It's said that their ghosts remain among the books. Room 222 in Bowditch Hall is said to be particularly haunted. Visitors report their bed shaking violently. Another haunting ground in the city is the local cinema called Cinema Salem. The cinema is an independent cinema found on East India Square. Staff at the cinema say that the place is haunted. One of the former managers says that he was working in the projection booth when he saw a man dressed in formal clothing from the Victorian era sitting in theatre number 3. A movie wasn't playing at the time and the cinema was otherwise empty. The manager went downstairs to confront the man and asked him to leave, only to find that he had completely disappeared by the time he had reached theatre number 3.